Hello, hello, once again. It is time to recap UFC 325, Volkanovski versus Lopez 2 from Sydney, Australia. And I said going in I was not super excited about this card. I come out not being let down, but not being tremendously impressed. There were good fights on here. Benoit Saint-Denis, Dan Hooker was a good time. Mauricio Ruffy, Ruffy Fiziev was cool. Quillan Selkill versus Jamie Malarkey was... I don't really know how to term it. A fun watch, but kind of meaningless, I suppose, in a nutshell. Billy Alicana versus Junior Taffa was actually a reasonably okay fight. I had pretty low expectations for that one, and it delivered. Roaston versus Brundage was good. Malkoon and Finney was better than it had any right to be. McAuliffe versus Elliott was pretty solid. Awfully Yizha was pretty solid, although very, very controversial. I enjoyed most of the road to the UFC finals pretty solidly. I'd say the first one between Lawrence Louis and Sularang Rangbo, who I'll just call Rangbo because the commentary was doing that. That one was a bit crap. But the other two were pretty good. Nakamura had a cool knockout, and Dom Marfan and Sang Yu Kim. They had a good fight, but at the same time, really, probably of the finals is the one where I have no faith in either guy to really turn into anything at a UFC level. I just think that the flaws in their game, their limitations, their ceiling is very, very low. Whereas Nakamura and Rangbo are both guys who I think are very, very raw, but have the raw physical gifts to do something. And Sebastian Saleh he'll be fine. Lawrence Louis, I guess, is not really someone to particularly spend a lot of time on, even though he did win his fight. But let's talk about the fights individually here, Alexander. Oh, and I guess I have to finish it up with the bad fights. Teixeira versus Tuivasa was not good, and I guess that's the only one that was that and like I said, the Rangbo Louis fight, those were kind of the low points on the card. Everything else was pretty okay. And let's get into it. Volkanovski versus Lopez. A lot of people seem to be trying to defend this booking and on the level that it was an interesting idea, and I'm it really is not. It was the first fight again, but lower pace and with Lopez taking less risks, essentially, which means that Lopez wasn't shut out horribly until the fifth round anyways, in terms of results. Because if you recall from the first fight, rounds 1 and round 3, and outside of the knockdown, round 2 were very Lopez not getting a lot done. And this fight was, in that regard, closer, because there was no round like that, except for the fifth round. Rounds 1 through 4 are somewhat competitive rounds. I gave the third to Lopez, but that's not a necessary. The 50-45 score is fine. 49-46. Is there a 48-47 in here somewhere? Maybe you give the second round to Lopez because he landed about the same strikes and actually had some decent damage. Maybe you can make that argument. But I think 1, 4, and 5 are very clearly Volkanovski's rounds. And it went like I expected to be, because listening to Lopez talk about his journey after losing to Volkanovski was a lot of him talking about things that are probably a good idea in the grand scheme of things. Learning to be a better wrestler, learning to focus more on himself than be a coach, try to make the best out of himself as a fighter. These are good ideas, but nothing about it was going to solve the problem Volkanovski gave him. Because essentially what he would have to do to solve the Volkanovski problem is leave his gym. He would have to go elsewhere and finally make some cross-training happen. He would not need to fight at Brazilian Warriors / Legacy MMA / the Grosso Gym is Entrum, right? Yeah. Entrum Gym. And he did not do any of that outside of going to train wrestling in Oklahoma. But the problem with training wrestling in Oklahoma is wrestling wasn't the problem in the first game, and it's not that had striking training. He needs better footwork. He needs better footwork in a more diverse striking game. And Volkanovski, again, neutered him. It's like I said, the only way that Lopez wins this fight is if Father Time comes for Volkanovski. If the Grim Reaper is here, if the hourglass is empty, then yes, he could possibly win that fight. But why is anyone looking forward to that? And the other thing is that, like, the reason that's really, really sad is that the UFC has challengers for Volkanovski that are at least somewhat interesting. Maybe not like the most interesting things in the world, but like specifically, you do have Movsar Evloev. I know we don't like Evloev, and I don't like Evloev. I find him boring, and everything I learned about him as a person is kind of icky. But you have him. You have Lerone Murphy. That's really about it. Those are the two names that feel very, very passed over here. And hell, you even have like Yusuf Zalal. But instead, we recycle Diego Lopez 9 months after he lost the first fight, has fought John Silva. So it's not even like he has 9 months to prepare. He had to prepare for John Silva and then get this booking. And then, like, you're asking him in, what was it, 4 or 5 months? Let me just get the time frame here real quick. 5 months. 5 months, I guess. And like 4.5 months. 4.5 months to try to prepare for this and, like, fix a massive multitude of, like, complex issues that Lopez has shown no ability to fix before, and give him a rematch. And it's not even that you fail to make a start at Lopez here by having him lose. You've, like, I don't know, you just damaged him. Like, how interested are you going to be seeing Lopez, even against another champion, get a third title shot? I think that this booking was just irresponsible. And you'll note I didn't really say anything about the fight because it was just Volkanovski being like nullifying him reasonably well. Like I said, the second and the third rounds were competitive enough that you could possibly go for Lopez, but that's about it. And by the fifth round, he was really getting beat up. Like, he stopped the wrestling again, so that training in Oklahoma works. But like, he stopped the wrestling the first time. I just don't have much. I don't have much in the way of positives to say. It wasn't a bad fight. It was just a fight that felt needless. And in the co-main event, we have Benoit Saint-Denis versus Dan Hooker. And I was worried for a little bit because in the first round, Dan Hooker comes out. He's shutting down the wrestling. He's attacking the neck really well on the takedowns, stuffing them out. I think BSD went like 0 for his first 4. Got the last 2, I think, at the end of the round. And was landing to the body really, really nicely. When he was moving forward, Benoit Saint-Denis had nothing for him because Saint-Denis has no back foot game. He is an entirely front foot dependent fighter. And I was like, hey, maybe he's got something here. But then also part of my brain is like, no. Hooker always has concepts of a plan to beat a wrestler. Like, they're always there. And the problem is that he can't terminate the actual exchanges with a wrestler at all. Like, it's like he gains confidence by being able to shut down someone's game and then doesn't realize that, okay, I've stopped the takedown. I've hit him in the body. Now I need to break away, find space, get back to pressuring, keep working the body, and abuse the fact that I am a super tall dude. Instead, he's like trying to like clinch wrestle with BSD, and even like in the second round, trying to hip toss BSD, which is a terrible idea. So round 1 it's a tough one to score because the first like 3 minutes of it or so is all Hooker. Like, he's winning, but then the last 2 minutes are all BSD. And you're getting into this like subjective damage criteria of who did more. And if you say Hooker, I'm fine with it. But I think that people saying it has to be Hooker is a bit weird because he did get outlanded 2-1. And it's not like BSD doesn't hit hard. Like, that's the thing. BSD, it's not like we're dealing with him fighting like Mateusz Gamrot and getting outlanded 62-34. We're talking about BSD who throws his entire body weight behind everything. So, anyways, round 2, Hooker again gets sucked into the grappling very, very early. Gets taken down. Actually tries to go for a takedown himself, and that's actually how he ends up on the ground, actually, because ironically, Benoit Saint-Denis is credited with going 0 for 3 in the second round on takedowns. And it was essentially Hooker face-planting himself into the canvas that ended up on the ground. Benoit Saint-Denis is trying various submission ideas, Kimura, arm triangle there, rear naked choke when he got the back and all that stuff. I would say the arm triangle was the predominant idea. And then eventually he just says, you know what if I just like sit up and mount and bang away, drop bombs, pick up the W that way. And he did. The referee had seen enough. He stops the fight. Benoit Saint-Denis gets the win, calls out Paddy Pimblett. I'm fine with that. calls out Conor McGregor. I'm less cool with that. I think at this point, calling out Conor McGregor is just a bad idea. Pardon me. No, it was freaking Hoofy who called out Conor and Patty. My bad. Wrong lightweight. My apologies. Wrong lightweight. But in the case of Hoofy, I don't think. I think the reason I'm thinking of this is that BSD versus Patty would actually make a lot of sense. Whereas Hoofy versus Patty is not the worst idea in the world, but it feels like probably not really what Paddy Pimblett would want for his like next fight. Whereas like BSD is a scary fighter and all, but BSD is like a guy who's going to play into Paddy's game at least. Whereas Hoofy would not. I think Hoofy would probably piece up Pimblett pretty good. Although at the same time, Pimblett could probably take him down and do some things. But like that, then you're in a no-win scenario. Like BSD rolled over Hoofy, so it wouldn't be a good matchup. It would be a fun fight, but I don't think it would be a good matchup. Speaking of Ruffy Fiziev versus Mauricio Hoofy, this is a fight I lost. I thought Fiziev would do a lot of what he did, which is pressure. Put the pressure on him. I just thought that there would be more offense behind the pressure because there wasn't a lot. For the amount of time that Fiziev spent pressuring Hoofy, the fact that he only landed 17 strikes in round 1 and 20 in round 2 is kind of underwhelming. Like arguably losing the first round to a very inactive Hoofy is not great when you're on the front foot. So I guess the question on this one really is, and Hoofy knocked him out in the second round, so not much to talk about. The knockout was really, really cool. And Hoofy, in some ways, was doing a good job on some counters. Anytime he managed to convince Fiziev to stop pressuring him, his single strike damage is elite. He has the elite level finishing ability in the division. It's just, I kind of worry that there's just not enough there to win rounds. He's a little bit too inactive, and I still also worry that someone could do what Benoit Saint-Denis did to him when he brings the pressure, and he's more comfortable doing it. Because Fiziev, I don't know, Fiziev didn't seem comfortable with the pressure. Like he'd be walking forward, and I don't know why I'm moving around the microphone right now, but I'm trying to like pantomime what it was. But of course, it's an audio only show. But he's just doing a lot of feints. But it didn't seem to ever at any point lead anywhere, which was the problem. So Hoofy gets a massive win, the biggest win of his career. Biggest win in most people's career would be beating Fiziev. And like this is a guy who went life or death with the champion. But I come out of it thinking like, okay, can Hoofy finish people? Yeah, absolutely. But I knew that coming in too. I still question his ability. But you know what? He is branching out. He is training away from the MMA nerds, which I liked the idea of Brazil having a big, like, strong team to try to coalesce the Brazilian talent in MMA into like a force. But that gym has been underwhelming with almost everybody it has. Jan Silva is a mess. Caio Bahaio has been proven to be relatively easy to deflate as long as you have certain physical talents. And Carlos Prates has his own like problems. And Hoofy was kind of in the same boat. So, I don't know. I guess him branching out is, I think it's good for him. I just think it may be not super great for like Brazilian MMA, which really needs like a gym to kind of stand out. Again, we need the days of shoot box and Brazilian top team back. And Hoofy got the win. Like I said, he called out Patty and Conor. You could do Patty. I don't think Patty would take that. Calling out Conor, though, feels like a brick wall, a dead end proposition. Then we had Talshin Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa, and Teixeira starts really well. He hits a blast double, or at least a blast double in the relevance of the fight. Gets a takedown, gets 4 minutes of top control, messes Tuivasa up a fair bit, but like also ended up kind of gassing himself out. Like the gassing out probably happened more in the second round, but the fact that Teixeira over the course of this fight would gas himself out while being in control of everything is a terrible sign. Anyways, Teixeira wins round 1. Not really anything to talk about there. Round 2, Tuivasa comes out, doing pretty good. He's blasting him. He's landing some good shots. Probably hit the more damage. Teixeira gets on top of him. 3 minutes of top control. More ground and pound. Same as the first round, basically, but like less active. By this point, Teixeira is gassed. And Teixeira is probably up 2 rounds to none, although I think there is actually a legitimate argument that Tuivasa won the second round on damage. I just think, but like, I also get it. You're on the bottom for 3 minutes. You're outlanded 43-17 per UFC stats for what that is worth. Chances are you lost the round. So I don't really have necessarily a problem with that. Round 3, Tuivasa wins the stand-up that there is. He lands the harder shots, the better shots, but he also continuously keeps falling into the clinch with Teixeira for no real reason and just gets stuck there. And he needed a finish. I think, like, you know, very, very legitimately needed to actually put Teixeira away. So crashing into the clinch or falling into the clinch and getting stuck there, not really an option. Bad idea. Boom, boom, boom. Don't really have much else to ask other than, like, both of these guys do not look UFC caliber. I will say that Teixeira is young enough and has enough upside that maybe he is. He's 26 years old. He's 6'7". He's got an 83-inch reach. These are things that can't be taught. He clearly has some athleticism, has some explosiveness, some speed, some power. He ate some decent shots in this fight, although after Tuivasa himself was fairly tired. But his chin is maybe not the problem I thought it was after the Derek Lewis fight. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a win for Teixeira. It gets him back on the winning path, but that is all it is. Tuivasa just feels... It's bizarre because it's not that I even think Tuivasa is necessarily a worse fighter now. It's just I think that the cat is so out of the bag as to what he cannot do that everybody is going to do it. And he's going to lose because he can't seem to, or has no interest in, or whatever the case may be, in trying to fix the massive gaps in his game, the fact that there is very little he does well. What he does well, but very, 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 very little of it. Little of the MMA game is actually something that is in his repertoire. Anyways, Quillan Salkill bullied Jamie Malarkey and picked up a rear naked choke. Not much else to say about that. Fight went, I don't want to say how I thought it would go because I think we thought knockout, but Salkill is just on a different level from what Malarkey is, and he showed it. So there you go. Billy Alakana versus Junior Tafa. This one started really badly for Alakana, actually. Tafa dropped him. Tafa was beating him up on the feet. Tafa had a great first round. Fantastic. Phenomenal. And then, well, he gets taken down and he gets subbed. Junior Tafa, see everything I said about Tai Tuivasa and apply it to Junior Tafa, essentially. Like, there's baseline power and dangerousness to his game, and, like, I guess there was some counter wrestling. He defended 3 takedowns in the first round, defended the first 4 takedowns of the fight. But, my God, his, Dude, this is 205 and your grappling is terrible. Like, Billy Alakana is not even, like, a good grappler. And here we are. So, yeah, Alakana gets the win, and everybody should just do this to Junior Tafa. So, Tafa and Tuivasa probably just need to get cut. And be either that or you give them an ultimatum that they have to go somewhere that can teach them to wrestle and grapple and do something and do anything. I guess Tafa at least is getting into better shape. Cody Brundrich versus Cam Roston. This was less about Cam Roston getting a very good victory by ground and pound, but more about Brundrich just also being kind of like done. There were a couple of moments, particularly in the first round, exclusively in the first round, where Brundrich would actually be the aggressive power guy that he can be. Like I don't think he dropped Roasted as much as he kind of like yanked down on him and made him face plant. But there was that, so that was cool. But yeah, I don't have a lot of nice things to say about this fight just because it really did feel like Brundrich kind of just fell apart and came apart at the seams. And Roston was there to win and broke him with height. I will say that you can only make happen what is in front of you. So in that case, Cam Roston's done great. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He's done the job. But I don't know. Brundrich just seemed like very, 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 very done. Like he mentally broke in the second round, just got finished. There wasn't much to talk about. Jacob Malkoun, Torres Fitty, talk about not much to talk about. I had Malkoun 10-8ing Finney in both the first and the second round because, my God, did Torres Finney not have anything. He had to be injured coming into this fight is what I think, because he did not go for takedowns. He's credited with one takedown attempt and one takedown attempt only. And he got absolutely lambasted on the feet. There was no competitive aspect to the stand-up phase that Finney should have been in any idea. And he definitely hurt his leg in the first round. And that was it. The towel should have been thrown in here because dude was hurt and was not winning. And I know Finney kind of is a guy who has kind of a chance to win at all times because he's like, look at him. He is a knockout potential fighter. But it's not like he has a particularly high history of actually knocking people out. Like his way of winning is getting on top of you and controlling you and maybe picking up a sub or a ground and pound. In fact, looking at his record, I haven't watched all these fights, but he has 4 knockouts that appear to have been on the feet in his pro career. Against Wesley McCracken, Jake Zog, these are hell of names, Ivan Bantich, and EJ Portre. Only one of those has a winning record, which would be Batnich. He's the only one. So just throw the towel in, cut your losses, and move on. Although the gym name of Scrapyard MMA is pretty cool. This is the most dominant Malkoun will ever look. I do kind of agree with Eddie Mercado from the 6th round, who stated the fact that he could not finish a one-legged Torres Finney is a problem. And in the 3rd round, he was dumb. He was like trying to submit Torres Finney. And again, if you would like to just look at Torres Finney, you will understand that that's a bad idea. That guy has no arms, no neck, no limbs to speak of that you would be able to actually submit. It's not on the table. It's not how he's going to lose. So, yeah. It's a dominant win for Malkoun. It's just, I don't know what it means. It's because he beat a 5'8" guy who was on one leg at 185 pounds. Which is, it's freakish. Jonathan McAuliffe submitted Oban Elliott. I would say that my prediction here was like largely correct. Elliott was giving him a lot of trouble, and then McAuliffe just picked up the sub because he's got that extra finishing sense, and he's got the physical abilities to be really quick and really dynamic and snap up a submission like that. And he's going to frustrate me for a long time to come because he's going to be that guy who I'm going to watch footage of and go, man, his opponent can really beat him. But then also realize that his opponent could easily get subbed and or knocked out. Because his style is kind of broken. But at the same time, God, is it opportunistic. Con Offley versus Yeehaw. This was a fight that has a lot of controversy about it. And honestly, rather than talk about the fight, because there's not much to talk about the fight. Essentially, rounds 1 and 3 are super, super close. Round 2 is a absolute posterizing by Yeehaw on Con Offley. Now, the controversy here is that Offley got a majority decision with one judge scoring a draw and the other 2 giving it to him. I scored it a draw. Now, if you scored it for Yeehaw, I have no problem. That's a perfectly valid scorecard. You could go 30-26 in this fight for Yeehaw, and I would not complain. But the thing is here is that these fights are scored round by round by round. Not overall, not in total, and 10-8s are very, very rare. Now, what I'm getting at here is that Yeehaw only clearly won 1 round. Like I said, you could give him all 3, and I wouldn't argue it. But let's just review here. Con Offley landed more than him in the first round. They both hurt each other. Both of them gave each other a good, little staggering. The damage was roughly even. Offley got the better of the grappling portion of the round and was able to land more. So I think that he wins that round. That's what I think. But if you gave it to Yeehaw, you could do it that way. If you thought Yeehaw hit him way, way harder. Okay, that's fine. I would say that's the best round for Offley, though. Round 2, Offley gets dropped. I would say twice. They credit it with 1, but I would say knocked down twice, hurt multiple times, outlanded 3-1, absolutely destroyed. I scored that a 10-8 round for Yeehaw because Offley did not do much. 10 strikes in total landed, got hurt multiple times, got dropped, like I said, 2 times. I think that's a 10-8 round. But we also know that judges will be really, really, really hesitant to do that. Only David Letheby scored it a 10-8 round. Evan Field and Sal D'Amato did not. They scored a 10-9. Yeehaw. And then the third round is a relatively anemic round for both of them. It's slight striking edge to Yeehaw of about 4 strikes. And people are talking about the takedowns and the ground control. Yeehaw did get 2 takedowns, but he only had 34 seconds of top control and actually was underneath Offley. More than Offley was underneath him. So he actually lost the control battle there. Now, again, if you want to give that round to Yeehaw, I have no problem. No problem at all. Please feel free. But people are like, this is a robbery. This is the worst judging I've ever seen. Oh my God. No, what we have here is just 2 really close rounds and 1 round that was very much a drubbing. That's all we have. Con Offley in a 10-9 only system easily can win this fight. Con Offley in a 10-8 system easily can get a draw here. And I think that was the appropriate result. I wouldn't have had a problem with Yeehaw winning at all, but it did not have to happen. This was... I would say that David Letheby's card is completely legitimate under any circumstances. Evan Field and Sal D'Amato, it's defensible given that the 10-8 bias is not there, but I would say wrong because I think that really should be a 10-8 round. So I have less problems than you would think, and people will be like, well, it's because you put up money on Offley. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you of something here real quick. I am more than willing to call a decision bad when it loses me money. I am more than willing to do that. That just wasn't the case here. Now, I guess the question is, do I have to revise my idea that Yeehaw is bad? Or am I just really going to downgrade my thoughts on Con Offley? And I think it's more the latter because... See, Offley had a nice run going there. He was 1-1, but like he overachieved in the loss to Muhammad Naimov because I thought Naimov would like smoke him. And he did not. And then he, of course, beat Ricardo Ramos, who, I mean, it's Ricardo Ramos. What are you going to do? And then he wins this one in a fight that he probably should have drawn or lost. So, I don't know. I think I pretty much have to give up on him. What little hope I had to give up on him. But we'll see. Maybe if Yeehaw can do it, if Yeehaw can be routinely hurting people again in his third fight because he knocked out Weston Wilson last time out, maybe I actually start believing in the power. But Weston Wilson... very fragile. Con Offley. We'll see. We'll see. Because I did think he was kind of tough. But, or durable, I should say. Then we get to the road to the UFC finals. Dom Marfan has some cool clinch boxing. And he's reasonably rangy, reasonably cool. But it also feels like he's just not athletic enough. And Kim doesn't seem like he does anything particularly well. And also has bad fight IQ. Because he was clinching when, the best thing he could do was, pocket box. When he got pocket boxing going. That was the only time he had a lot of success. Had a good third round, though. Came on strong. Or Marfan just started to fall off. Take your pick. But I don't think either of these guys have a long career ahead of them. They just feel like they're physically limited. And it's not just they're unrefined and raw. Which, talking about unrefined and raw, we have Nakamura, Kaichiro Nakamura, who had a pretty cool knockout of Sebastian Saleh in the third round with a big knee up the middle. Boom! Put him down. But before that, he was getting worked by Saleh. Saleh was doing a good job of just keeping the pressure on him, beating him up in the pocket, beating him up in the clinch a little bit, catching him with a lot of body work. I love that Saleh works the body. That's very, very nice. I'm a big fan of that. But Saleh does have some lead with his head stuff. It caused a couple of head clashes, but it also is what led to that knee because he's sticking his chin out over his stance, and obviously that's going to be very, very prone to both an uppercut and a knee shot. So that is something he should definitely fix. Nakamura has promise because he clearly has power and he has the base physical needs, physical wants. Unlike, for example, Dom Marfan and Sang-Uk Kim, who I feel are underwhelming athletes. Nakamura is just, he's very raw, but he does have some nice uppercut work. He does have some interesting ideas. He just needs to kind of put together in better combination trees to maximize the power that he does have and work on it. So as a prospect, I don't mind him being here. It's just I also don't trust the UFC to develop prospects at all because their track record with it is very bad. I don't have much to say about the the Rangbo versus Lawrence Louis fight. Louis won it. I don't have a problem with that really, but it was like takedowns, top control, and not good top control because he had a hard time keeping the top control. But when he was on the front foot, he was able to generally outland Rangbo at the same time. Rangbo is the fighter who actually has more promise. Louis seems like much too physically limited. And it's just that he's a city kickboxing guy and therefore is actually well trained that allowed him to win this fight when Rangbo is otherwise the better athlete, the better prospect, the higher ceiling fighter of the two of them. And of course, on the cancel bout side, we had a weird one with Aaron Tao missing weight. So Tao came out, did the strip down, bring in the privacy box type of thing, and weighed in at like 122 or something. And it was very clear that he was kind of resting his elbows on top of the privacy curtain. And they were like, okay, weigh in again. And it was like 129. Which, I mean, to be clear, though, the answer to this, I think, is honestly just making a bigger privacy thing so that you can't, modesty thing, so that you can't like lean on it. Like there's your solution. Like just build it around the scale. There you go. Problem solved. It also would allow for like getting rid of like Daniel Cormier's tail truck. And otherwise, we lost Josh Jacoby, Jimmy Crute. Get better soon, Jimmy Crute. Ruptured ACL is not nothing. We lost Sergey Spivak versus Antidelia, which was moved around. And then Rong Zhu versus Quillen Salku would have been better than the Malarkey fight, but I don't think it would have been necessarily a step up for Salkild the way that I would ideally want, because I think Salkild is ready for proper tests. And if I recall correctly, he's not that young. And he's 26. It's time to find out what he's got. But that's it. Anyways, I'll be back with predictions for the next event, which will be... I don't really get why we don't have just numbered events if they're not going to be pay-per-view anymore. I mean, I guess they're pay-per-view somewhere, so there is that. Which is the Bautista Oliveira card, which is a weird main event. Because you have Mario Bautista coming off a loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, but wins over Patchy Mix and Jose Aldo. It just feels like a massive step backwards to be fighting Oliveira. I like Oliveira, and he's been performing really, really well, beating Kyler Phillips, Said Nurmagomedov, Ricky Simon. These are all real good, but it does feel a little bit weird. Is there anything like particularly standoutish on this card? Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi could be interesting, but Albazi's had so many injuries lately. And has looked just, he's looked bad. I don't know. I can't, could be good, but I'm having a hard time. Almeida Kuniev, no. Oleksiejczuk versus Barrio, that's a fun action fight. That's fine. Matsumoto versus Basharat, that's fine. Jacoby Walker, Morono versus Donchenko. Brazil versus... Said Nurmagomedov versus Javid Basharat. It's okay. Kong Wang versus Eduardo Mora. Why? Don't make Kong Wang fight grapplers. What are you, stupid? Jakub Wicklocks versus Muin Gaparov. Priscilla Cachoeira versus Claudia Segula. Okay. Yeah, that's not a good card. There's not much I'm getting up in my seat for on that one. The best fight on that card is... it's probably the main event. But even that one's not terribly compelling. But I guess the Paramount era is not necessarily... There's not really a lot of reason to actually be better in the Paramount era than it is in the ESPN era. So I guess we have to set our expectations a little bit low. Anyways, but that being said, UFC 324 was really good, but 325, not amazing, nor is this Fight Night card. Anyways, have a good day. Hope you enjoyed. Check the link tree for social media, as well as the Discord Fight Simulator, boom, and my video gaming stuff. Have a good day. And at some point, I should put Evolution Racing Academy on the link tree, because I do commentary on their server too. Did that today. Was a great race. And if you enjoyed the sound of my voice and you like sim racing, that would be something to check out.